Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome to this week's edition of Vishal and Company. It was a big earnings week this week, as I'm sure most of you know. So today we're going to be talking about some of the big surprises and big companies along the likes of Amazon and Equity Guru's favorite of all time to scream about, Tesla. We have a special guest, Joseph, here today with us, who has officially been upped to series regular. So I'll have to stop introducing him like that. He'll be with us every week from now on, which is awesome. And with that, we'll just get right into it. I'm going to pass it over to Vishal.
All right, thanks, Maddie. So as Maddie said, it was actually a big earnings week. Here's the calendar if you haven't seen this just yet. Names such as Tesla, AMD, Microsoft, Visa, Starbucks, eBay, Facebook, Apple, Boeing, Shopify, Spotify, Neo, Amazon, Caterpillar, McDonald's, Twitter, Chevron, Exxon, just to name a few. A lot of big boys. And next week, I think there'll be even more big boys. But this was obviously the tech focused week, the NASDAQ focused week. S&P really had 4 days of up. We had really just ranges for 2 of those days, and today there is a substantial drop in the S&P 500 and other equity markets, but nothing to be alarmed of. Looks more like just a test to retest a previous breakout zone. The Fed was obviously one of the biggest things this week on Wednesday, which sort of upped the importance of this week, but really they did nothing. They're holding interest rates the same, but they did talk about faster growth and higher inflation. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about the Fed as we go forward. But let's focus on maybe 2 companies, Tesla and Amazon. So Tesla's earnings actually did surge, but it wasn't as expected. It did miss estimates, which is a bit strange because they did say that they delivered the most vehicles in Q1 of this year. So a lot of people were assuming, okay, with record deliveries would mean record profit. But it seems like in the $1 billion plus worth of profits, about 438 was actually in auto sales. 500 million was in the carbon credits. And then, as everyone knows, Tesla did sell some Bitcoin and made a quick 100 and something million on the sales of Bitcoin. But here we go. Earnings, 93 cents per share. So they did beat expectations. Revenues, as we mentioned, and net profits. That's the big one that you want to talk about. And here we go. If you don't believe me, 518 million in revenue from sales of regulatory credits during the period, and also 101 million from the positive sales of Bitcoin. So Galen, I think you probably have a lot to say about the earnings here.
Well, he lied in his first report by misreporting deliveries, and he's tucked that into the second quarter, and he knew that he had to report a huge profit in the second quarter, so he sold his fucking Bitcoin and anyone that would take a tax credit. So basically, he's lied to us twice, and we're just, lapping it up.
The markets, by the way, didn't like it. Like they did fall a little bit. I mean, today there's a bit of a bounce. I think it's because of Kathy Wood actually just said that she ended up buying a few.
Did she? Oh my God, yeah. That's such a surprise.
Kathy, I'll let you know how much she bought, but she just did buy some more. Yeah, she loaded up on 34.5 million worth of Tesla as the shares retreat post Q1 earnings. So earnings dropped. We closed below 700. News came out yesterday that she bought 34.5 million worth of Tesla shares, and then today it looks like the retail crowd is following along.
I've just a very quick thought on this, and I know that everyone's bracing for me to go off on a rail for 20 minutes, but it's this company is so loosely connected to what actually drives a company's profitability and value. It's unbelievable. It's in another solar system compared to as far as like what we're judging its value on. There should be some sort of formula that of the value of a stock can only get to a point of real production value within a company, any company. We've lost that touch. And the valuations we're getting today are more or less a reflection of the Fed trying to hide its quantitative easing and the greed of a very few individuals like Cathie Wood. So
Well, what about the people? Sorry, what about the people who? What about the people who would argue that Tesla is a growth stock, though? That
it isn't.
the
It has
price-
no. It has no potential. It's trying to grow into a market that's already established. It hasn't established its own manufacturing base. It's getting clobbered in China right now, and it's its biggest customer. As soon as they release the less than $6,000 car, you can count on Tesla falling in the back seat. No pun intended. Now, basically, Tesla is a car manufacturer. I won't deny that, but it isn't a car manufacturer on the level that is being valued at. And I think that's a tremendous disservice to both the stock market and to investors who are trying to find their way into this place. There we go. I'll walk away from it now.
It looks like in China, some brakes were malfunctioning, but Tesla is saying it's due to the driver.
Oh, here we go. Sorry, there's something else. He's the spinner of lies. Basically, he just put out a statement saying that this next version is full auto, self-drive, watch us go, oh my God, it's so great, while his lawyers are telling the Department of Vehicles that they don't have full driving and probably never will.
Okay. So it
What
looks like the
story's
Chinese
correct?
government, it looks like the Chinese government are going to be actually going into depth and doing an investigation, and we'll wait to see what the government findings sees after it looks like
beyond the
Tesla
auto
cars.
driving. Sorry, just one more thing. Beyond the auto driving and the everything else that's going on right now in regards to lying about his books and stuff, when these cars crash and catch fire, which they do, 32,000 gallons of water is required to douse those flames. So this is a tremendous safety bad thing. This is not good. And if he's using, because right now he's defending all of this, well, you know, the more these cars get on the road, the more accidents we're going to have. Oh, great. So we're going to have multiple fires that require a nearly town's worth of water to put out.
There's this social media video here. Apparently, malls in China are banning Teslas from parking lots where the security guard says, "Go and fix your brakes first, then come back."
Yeah. Now, whether this is a great PR campaign or something constructed to submarine Tesla or not, I don't think it is. I think this company has been well versed in devoiding itself of responsibility. It's now starting to sleep in the bed that is made.
You mentioned the $6,000 car, so that obviously is NIO, I believe.
No,
the
Candy.
Chinese.
That's Candy. I apologize.
Candy. Okay, Kandi.
That is correct.
Okay. What about NIO though? NIO is also.
Oh, NIO is its first major Chinese competitor, right? And of course they're going to get slammed. So it's not the potential that Cathie Wood is purporting to have is the same thing that people in the fervor of cannabis were saying, that somehow there was going to be more people than there are, and they're all going to be smoking pot, and they're going to be smoking pounds of it. You know, this is the same kind of thing. It's an unrealistic projection in a market that's already established. There is no way on God's green earth that he is ever going to capture that amount of the market to justify the value that we've given him today. And the value we've given him today has allowed him to recklessly damage the market, our trust in said market, and also our trust in value.
Okay.
Sorry, and now I'll back away.
No, I mean the Chinese market is going to be pivotal here, and as you
they're
just
their
mentioned,
biggest customer, and they're not going to be soon enough.
Well, like if they do look at Candy, if they do look at KNDI, or if they even look at NIO, which is also another sort of hot stock, a lot of people in the institutional side, there's a big German fund which actually ended up buying a lot of shares of NIO because they believe, a lot of Chinese customers don't like NIO vehicles because they look ugly. The Tesla ones look cooler, but maybe NIO addresses and fixes that later, and the government in China might actually be a bit more leaning towards, domestically made Chinese vehicles, helping a Chinese company out. Yeah, and so far, Q1 right now, I mean, again, NIO's just starting up. They've had a pretty crazy share run as well since June of last year. I mean, trading at under $5 and hitting a peak of 66. But they have started delivering vehicles. And as you can see here, analysts expected 20,070 vehicles for Q1. And again, folks, this is just starting up. They're producing their vehicles. And I mean, they just missed it by like 10 vehicles there. But
Yeah, and if they hit these targets, they will have
Yeah.
produced the same amount of cars that Tesla took years to produce. So, ooh.
so we'll definitely watch that. TK or Joseph, do you guys have any comments on Tesla versus NIO battling for the Chinese markets?
Not specifically about NIO, but what I'm curious about is whether or not they've actually made good on their promise to start ethically sourcing their cobalt. I mean, they've been yanking their cobalt out of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is, of course, home to all different sorts of human rights violations.
Child labor as well.
Yep.
And, yeah, of course. I mean, like anything horrible that seems can go on with that company's supply chain seems to come, or it has something to do with that.
And more than 70% of the world's cobalt is produced in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and apparently too, it's actually the highest grade. So I remember, I'm not sure if it actually went through, but there were some rumors that Tesla might start buying some cobalt from North America, starting some North American mines. Of course, it'll take years for those mines to go into production.
Yep.
And then the thing is too, the cobalt in North America is not as high grade as, say, Congo, and I believe the Russians and maybe South Africa that also have pretty high grade as well.
Yep.
That was about 2 years ago that Elon Musk put out a Twitter tweet about taking cobalt out of their batteries. I mean, they were going to be sourcing it from North America and not necessarily from the Congo. I don't know. I haven't seen anything literally on it.
Neither
I'm
have
curious
I.
whether or not I'm curious whether that's just hot air that he spits out on Twitter regularly.
Well, I think it is, to be honest with you. He said he's going to sell everything and live out of a fucking hovel. He hasn't done that, right? It's just there's all sorts of claims and gesticulations that he makes that are completely false and backed by nothing but hot wind.
I'm just showing you guys a chart here. First cobalt, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Joseph, you're right on the money. It was about 2 or 3 years ago, because I'm pretty sure this spike in cobalt prices here.
Yeah,
or
another market manipulation, a la Musk.
TK, you have any comments about the ongoings of Tesla or the earnings that came out? Do you think Tesla is a revenue producing company, or do you think it's a carbon credit trading company now?
I think it's a car manufacturer that just kind of has an inventor at the wheel kind of thing. He wants to be creative and he has the money to do it as of now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of tapping into any market he can that he feels like he's a genius in. And for now, I think he'll be okay as long as the market continues to go up. Yeah. But what will eventually catch up with him is the economics of the automobile industry.
Right.
Like it's inevitable. It's like reversion to the mean. It's like we won't be demanding 50% increase in cars for the next 25 years. Right. There's not enough road. There's not enough demand for something like that. And once that catches up with him, it'll affect a lot of the other stuff. And once he stops selling the credits as well and all that, it's just we could be wrong for longer than we can be liquid with Elon.
Yeah,
right.
So making a bet against him is kind of a fool's errand right now. It's just kind of watch him and hope for hope not too many people are damaged with what's going on. But it's more, I think what a lot of people are concerned with is as more and more institutional guys buy into his stock.
Yeah.
The effect will kind of domino to everybody else who wasn't even involved with Elon to begin with. But yeah, I'm not surprised they're profitable now. I kind of figured a couple quarters ago that they're going to have a full year of profitability. It's kind of been like 10, 15 years or whatever it is of trying to get there.
Yep.
And eventually, if you produce enough demand for it and your product is viable enough, it will start producing profit. Not to imagine if you do other financial things that can boost earnings. I figured he was going to get here eventually. Yep. But I think what's interesting now is like,
go for it.
Will he be able to continuously sustain? Oh, can you hear me?
Will
he be able Yeah. Will he be able to continue from where he is now? And that's the big question now. It's like, oh, okay, you're profitable now, but can you sustain that demand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out that the net income is the best right now, right? It's a record, but as you can see, there's no pattern just yet.
No, there's no pattern. It's inflation. It's in conflating his value.
Right. So from Tesla,
What I
let's
want
go
to know
to
is whether or not he's added his Bitcoin selling, Bitcoin manipulations into his revenue pattern here.
right. Yeah, so those are segregated. So this is, I believe, just from vehicles. The other ones are from 518 in regulatory credits, and then 101 in positive impact from sales of Bitcoin, which he did sell.
Yeah, they did. They had block
Yep.
sales of it.
I think it's still one thing that's kind of plagued Ford, and it's a problem they always have to face, is they don't generate a lot of cash.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Tesla's just kind of in that situation where right now, because of the way he's organized his supply chain and delivery systems, he can generate cash. He generates cash.
Thank you for putting the quote in.
Yeah. And he can put back that money into the new factories and stuff like that.
Right.
But if I was to guess roughly, from the last time I checked, he brings in like $1 billion of cash a year,
Right.
but he spends $1 billion of cash a year. So most of his financing is coming from debt,
Yes.
loans, and equity.
Would
So
you
it's
buy
not
junk bonds?
What's that?
Would you buy Tesla junk bonds then to bet on the company? Do you think they'll be able to pay out 6-7%?
Before I was, and then I got a little wiser, and I said I probably won't touch anything that has Tesla's name with the two foot. I don't know. It's like it's gotten to a point now where it's just like Galen is saying, it's just unbelievable. And
the weekly rants have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, they have nothing to do with it. I came to this conclusion by myself. I was sitting in the dark looking at a shrine of Elon, and I was like, okay, I think he might be going
So from Elon, let's go and take a look at another company that obviously has been doing quite well on the pandemic side here, and I just want to show you guys the chart because that's the talking point. Currently, Amazon did slightly hit all-time record highs here, above $3,000, $550 per share, and is seeing a bit of a pullback here. But there was an analyst just a few days ago who mentioned his price target now for Amazon is $5,000 per share. So, once, being a technical guy, once we do break above 35.50 here, where do you go from there? And I think, maybe 5,000 is a good round number there in Amazon. And as expected, they did smash their earnings. Sales surged 44%. It did beat all trounced analyst expectations. That's what they say. And we still have Prime
Would
Day
these
coming.
sales increases then actually now prove that it's a monopoly?
Nope, still not.
Still not? I mean, wouldn't 44% of an increase in sales now skew the number that it says it only has 4% of the retail market?
No, it's still below monopoly numbers. Yeah.
Man,
and I think the media is selling it off. Media selling it still off as like the COVID play. More people are shopping in Amazon because they have no choice.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean,
They
this
don't
is
want
war
to, but-
profiteering, right?
Yeah. They might not want to, but they have no choice because they're scared to go out or places are
And
closed.
basically, his model is not really changed, or is not really changing anything. He's taken it online, but now that he's building an outlet in every city, there's going to be stores. You're going to walk into an Amazon outlet and you're going to buy products just like you always did before, right? So there's no real change to the paradigm that he's actually created. So we've believed in this false narrative that this is all new. It's changing the world. All it's really done is decimate those in transportation and those who actually are making products, not third-party resellers, unless, of course, Amazon feels you're making too much money. It's the people that it's supposed to lift up, it's smacking down. Now,
Yeah,
very quick.
Amazon.
Sorry, go ahead, TK.
I think a lot of the companies like Amazon, Apple at a certain point. I don't know now how people feel about Apple, but they you know what, some of the stuff that happens is out of Bezos's control. He does know it's happening. He has to be informed. You kind of have to be aware of what's happening with your company. So, for example, the vote that happened a couple months ago with
The
to
union?
get unions. Yeah,
In Alabama,
he
there.
obviously he knew, and he didn't. You know, I don't think he said anything straight up about it, but some of his lawyers were lobbying. Well, his lawyers, Amazon's lawyers, were lobbying for it. So at some, you know, the head honcho knew what was going on, and it's like, if the pattern continues, that's usually when Congress comes in and is like, okay, something needs to happen here. Socially, you're becoming too big. Economically, you can continue to grow and give value. Because that's his point. He's like, I create value for the community, and that's what I'm doing. He's like, Congress is like, we're way past that. Like, we want to see your social impact. Like, where is that? How are you controlling that? And that's where ESG is now becoming reported on companies' quarterlies and stuff like that. Amazon is in the weird situation of just being the one that people want to pick on. It was Apple a couple years ago.
Well, I mean,
and now
Apple still, because you have this whole thing about the App Store and the fight with Fortnite and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and I think even Facebook now, they're fighting with Facebook.
Yes, that's very true. I hope they eviscerate each other.
It's like people they're trying to put them back into these economic definitions, but it's failed completely, and now they're focusing more on the social impact and actually seeing how these companies are affecting millions of people. I don't know the total people hired by the companies we're talking about today, but I think it's over 500,000 people hired in the region. So I was like, okay, yeah, the social impact is pretty big. And then you look back into a couple years ago. This is what I find interesting.
Right.
Amazon started with Jeff Bezos, and he said 2-3 other people
working
on the back of an idea like that. And I'm like, that's, it's pretty amazing. I get how the bigger you get, you kind of look past or forget the little things, because for him it's like, he's just seeing this thing grow and grow, and it probably feels like people are trying to attack his credibility and his idea. Right. So if you notice his tone now, because he's leaving,
he's
as
just
CEO,
backing away from the public spotlight, because he didn't leave, but he's still on the board.
Yeah. He's playing with
you can deal with all of that. And I want to go do my Blue Origin, and he wants to do
which he's having a huge spat with Musk about.
It's like, I don't want this spotlight anymore. It's too much. I'll go here. I'll be in the shadows of this one, and I'll go this side. His last annual report was kind of like that. He's like, I want to focus on this now. I think I've left Amazon at a place where it can grow without me, and I want to focus more on saving humanity and all that kind of jazz.
My argument is that beyond the actual idea of monopoly within the market, let's say of online sales and stuff, and whether that can be proved or not, there is a monopoly going on there, because the business isn't the business, right? It's still the Amazon Web Services are pouring a greater amount of money into the coffers than the actual business itself. And if it were left to its own, I'm sure that it would stumble and fall, because it's far too big to operate at any sort of reasonable margin.
Yeah. I think I don't know how true the rumors are now,
Hmm.
but people have always kind of speculated on the separating the two companies eventually. And to
Let, let
Congress,
him.
It's two different types of business. I don't think they should be operating under the same hood. Just like Solar City shouldn't be with fucking Tesla. Like, what the hell is that about?
So yeah, so
that's
TK
just a
just
scheme.
mentioned
Well, that was him bailing out his relatives, but whatever.
that was a good rumor though. There was rumors that there was going to be an Amazon split, and that's what caused the prices to actually spike. But the rumors so far aren't true. But it was more of a buy the rumor, sell the news, I guess. Right now,
No, absolutely. I mean, the
buy the rumor,
anti-monopoly
buy the
legislation
earnings.
in the states is absolutely toothless. Nobody wants to do it because everybody's getting paid on both sides of the aisle, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's
Joseph, you had something to say? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I think a good non-numerical metric of when a company effectively becomes a monopoly is like you can, I don't know, canvass some of their former workers and get an idea of what it's like to work there. I mean, there's a screen you have which you've been cycling past where you have Jeff Bezos' lizard face, and it's actually him giving a little shareholder whatnot message to shareholders about no, we've never treated our workers badly or anything. Now, I worked for Amazon for a little bit. I basically got out at a good out and performed a prison break after about 2 months and got past the guards and the alligators. And I can tell you straight up that working there for those few months was my, like, when I think of a dystopian future in which the government controls every aspect of your life, I think of what Amazon's like, what it's like to work there. Like, you need to scan in, scan out. You need to count for almost every 5 or 6 second interval of your entire time there. Or within the next week, you'll get called down from your job, and it's like, we need to account for this 10-second lapse. And it's like, well, what? I was scratching myself in an appropriate place. Like, can we not?
No, that's a very good point, Joseph. That is a very good point. I mean, if you want to see the health and welfare of a company, look at its employees, who are the main stakeholders. And
Yeah.
if it's treating them like shit, like Walmart, there's something wrong.
You started.
yeah.
I think just to end this off, a quick sort of interesting segue. I know a lot of people are looking at online sales, but I think the whole idea of economic ecosystems, right, is really big. Obviously, Amazon has theirs, but there are other ones, such as the Canadian version of, I guess, Amazon, Shopify. It is trading at 1,500 per Canadian dollar. They had great earnings. Something I'm actually a bit more interested in personally is actually Etsy, just because I think their marketplace, and they've had quite the run because
They're far more friendly to the people that are on it, correct?
Yes.
well, it's not just that. It's more of an ecosystem where it's specific, one of a kind goods, right? They're artisan goods that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Right.
I'll be honest. I've bought maybe hundreds of dollars worth of crystal bracelets off of Etsy in the past year
Like,
here.
my niece is actually starting a business on Etsy. She makes stuffed
Very
animals, and she does really well. But I think this thing celebrates the manufacturer, celebrates the creator, celebrates the artist, whereas Amazon celebrates the sale.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of people are realizing that, and they are heading to Etsy to buy those type of goods where you would usually buy off of Amazon, but specifically bracelets, clothing. I mean, Etsy's adding also a musical instrument component. They've just bought a company, and they're going to add a used musical instrument part of their business. But I think, yeah, it's really catered towards you, individual, specific goods that you won't find anywhere else. And I think that type of economic marketplace is going to be, or ecosystem, sorry, is going to attract a lot of people who want personalized goods, specific things.
I need to confess, I have never used Shopify, Etsy, any of them. I've only used Amazon. And for some reason, I always forget that there are other services. I don't know what it is.
Amazon is so in your face. It's hard not to think of the name or the silly fucking insignia that they have on their boxes, right?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm just realizing now that there are other services. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
it's
very true. And admittedly, initially, because of lack of options, basically I rode that train for a while too. And not to tout myself or anything like that, I've totally pulled back from doing any business with Amazon on ethical,
Yeah.
moral, and financial grounds. It just doesn't make
Yeah.
economic sense to support somebody that's submarining local retailers and manufacturers.
like you could also
Yeah.
point out that there are other car companies making electric vehicles other than Tesla.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, there's an entire blockchain format that devoted to finding ethical sources, like it's basically codifying everything on the supply chain of how they get their cobalt. I mean,
Yeah.
the companies behind this are like Ford, Volkswagen, Volvo now.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's like there's tons of different options you could potentially do.
Right.
It's just certain brands names are getting more exposure than
Others. Now, very
others.
quickly, Maddie, because I haven't asked you yet.
Mhm.
When it comes, let's for instance, our two main players that we talked about today, and the multitude of options that exist around them, how are people looking your age? How are they looking at Tesla? Is it like I got to get a Tesla, or man, I got this on Amazon? Like, what is the general feeling right now towards these entities?
I think that like Wall Street bets stonk type people love Elon Musk and love Tesla, which are young people who just can't be that intelligent. I can't stand it. I think it's just all horrible. From everything I've researched about him or wrote about him, it's just volatile, and I don't know why anyone would want to put their money in something that's so overvalued and uncertain. So I personally would not. I'm really trying to focus on ESG investing. I think any young person who cares about their future at all should look into that type of investing and the impact on the environment. But I do think there is a huge cohort who, specifically with Elon Musk, follow him, revere him as a god, like TK said with the shrine.
He's the Doge father. The Doge father.
Mm-hmm. It's
Just
disappointing.
quickly to add on that, Galen, I think we've talked about this in a previous show, but there is that popularity with the young crowd, and I think that can be challenged once Apple comes out with their EV, because that's another company that's very popular with the young people,
I
and
got you.
they have an Apple
It'll
iPad.
split the vote.
They would
Yeah.
love to, if they can drive an Apple vehicle, because it'll work with their Apple iPhone and their Apple iPad and their Apple TV.
Yeah,
That might
I love their insular universe.
It's honestly the most amazing moat. It's like the competition is so different. Like I love Apple. That's really
they've built.
It's like as a
the moat.
company, it's just so amazing. If you watch back to a lot of Steve Jobs stuff, yeah, he was a crazy guy. People would always, and I think he's one of the only CEOs where he says to people, developers and stuff like that, come and ask me questions at the shareholder meeting, and make sure you ask the hard ones. And people would go there and ask him, your platforms are not as advanced as Microsoft. How are you succeeding? And you'd be like, I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you. And then he'll pitch. But it's like the core of Apple is kind of gone a little bit, the innovative
definitely.
part.
Yeah.
But it's the
It really
giving
was his
customers
vision.
utility. And I've noticed something with a lot of the more popular guys. All the founders focus on customer utility, foregoing shareholder utility, and all the other impact, employee utility. They focus on as Galen quoted, focusing on sales, getting the highest amount of sales with the highest amount of quality. Apple focuses on that. Amazon, Jeff Bezos focuses on customers. His last annual report, just customers. And Elon, I'm not too sure if he wants to serve customers or shareholders.
I think he's
But
supposed to
I would
serve
assume-
himself.
I would assume customers. And they're serving us, they're giving us value. So now as consumers, kind of does not only when it comes to where we buy, where we place our shares, but like how your buying goes. And a lot of people now are studying socially conscious consumers who are voting with their wallets.
Yeah,
So it's
speaking of
kind of
social
like
consumers, I want to know if people are still killing themselves in China making Apple's products. That's the question I'd ask.
Yeah, no, that
that's a
Foxconn thing has to be questioned. Absolutely.
Mm.
No,
On that
I
note,
it's-
we
I won't
are
buy now.
we are running out of time, unfortunately. So to anyone watching, invest consciously. And that's all. We will see you next week.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.